Hello and welcome to Survivor Everything. I'm your host Liam, and today we'll be talking about episode 2 of Survivor 49. This season has already come out with some polarizing opinions, with some people really enjoying characters like Rizgod and the weirdness of this internet generation, while others seem really turned off by these 20-year-old theater kid personas. I'm enjoying the ride right now, even if it's starting a bit slow, and I'm hoping by episode 3 that we can get this game to really ramp up, maybe with a tribe swap or something. With all that said, let's just focus on the contents of episode 2. Back at the Keeley camp, after Tribal Council, no one seems to be sad that Nicole went. Annie, the other target for the previous Tribal Council, now also has an unfounded confidence about being the leader of the Kelly tribe now. With this being a wild misread, I'm confused about how Annie ever came up with this in the first place. It's a clear edit sign that Survivor does all the time to have a player gloat and be cocky in the start of an episode that they're gonna leave in, building up the dramatic irony that a person so confident is also unknowingly on their deathbed. And it will be no different for this episode, as Annie will be the second boot at the end, but more on that later. On Uli, we get a lot of content that makes me happy to have put Nate as part of my top 3 winner picks last week. Nate is one of the oldest players in this game, and he's on a tribe with a kid named Rizgod, a girl who won't stop talking about water gods and life energy, and a chick who is just fascinated by pee and poop. I'm 25 years old, the same age as Rizzo, and just like Nate, I would feel very uncomfortable in this tribe as well. But we are hearing from Nate during these confessionals, and it's the edit telling us that what he is saying and feeling is correct, especially by the montage of people saying cinema and aura, with the show clearly making fun of the youth in this scene. Not only that, but Rizzo tells Nate that he likes him a lot and he has a very cool dad vibe from him. And then we see the real Uli 4 established in this episode, with Savannah, Rizzo, Nate, and Shannon all forming an alliance while Sage and Joanne are all left on the outs. These 3 scenes are lowered my opinion of Rizzo, with the show dunking on him here, giving him no confessionals, and with the editors praising Savannah and Nate the most whenever we are on Uli. When we get to Hina, it's clear what the show is telling us about this tribe in the edit so far. First, the show really wants us to focus on Matt and Steven here, with the whole scene revolving around those two trying to form a Hina majority, and the couple reactions from others to it. Nothing that builds character or lets us know about players' perspectives here, like how we saw about Annie or Nate in the previous scenes in this episode. And of course, getting a 4-person alliance on a starting tribe of 6 means your alliance is the majority and can dictate the votes if the tribe does go to Tribal Council, but it seems like Survivor 49 is really focusing on these 4-people alliances, almost as much as they were focused on duos as a theme in Survivor 48, with the constant pairing of 2 players as partners during that season. It makes me wonder if players will go into the merge fighting in their pre-merge groups of 4 or not this season, but Hina could throw a wrench in that theory. Even though Matt tries to pull MC into their majority, so it could be Matt, MC, Steven, and Christina, MC just placates Matt and agrees to it just because it's a smart move to say yes, even if you don't actually want to move on with it. Lots of players in the history of this show would make a blunder of not agreeing to alliances, even if you plan on jumping the ship or never joining with them to begin with. And it's nice to see that even though MC isn't getting a lot of screen time, at least she is making the right moves. And we see this again with MC going to Sophie and letting Sophie know that she is on the bottom in case they want to try to make a move against this forming majority. MC is definitely being no slouch in this game, but her lack of presence in the edit could certainly mean that she loses sooner than later, or an MC loses by some twist that production doesn't want us to feel too upset about, something we've seen time and time again. It's funny that even though I've talked about Hina the most here, mostly relying on their edit, I know that they get the least amount of focus on the show and none of them are going to win, and it doesn't help that Kelly and Uli will get another scene each before the journey that a member from each tribe is supposed to go on. Both scenes from the respective tribes are just to set up targets for their votes, with Annie throwing out Sophie's name and Sophie retaliating against it, and the funnier thing here is when Joanne and Uli lying horribly like a little kid trying to act sleek by taking his bag into the jungle and filling it up with sticks that are covered in dirt and bugs, and the guise that he is collecting firewood and not looking for an idol. Not only is this incredibly obvious and stupid on its own, but Joanne in his pure genius grabs Savannah's bag and not his own, filling it with ants and dirt all over her own items. I don't know if Joanne has seen the Survivor 50 tribe divisions yet or not, but he probably shouldn't be doing this to the person that's most likely going to win the season. Now, Nate might have a chance to win this game, and I'm kind of rooting for it, but Joanne might not have a chance to make it to the merge if he keeps messing up like this. Though Joanne is in a bad spot, luckily for him, he does get to go on a journey, competing against Jake from Kelly and Matt from Hina. This seems like a bit of an odd game, something we haven't seen before, with all 3 players having individual net bags, and the goal is to throw coconuts into a net that's not your own, and be the last player standing with their net bag still in the air before the weight drops it to the ground. I'll say that the show finally didn't force the players to lose their votes, my least favorite part about Journeys, and instead let them play for a game where a winner gets an advantage and the losers walk away empty-handed, which is a fair way to do it. It seems like Jake is going to win, but Juwan pulls it out. The exact outcome we heard from Savannah a moment ago that she wanted to avoid, and just like with Nate, we are being shown these confessionals to agree with the player that we're seeing them from, which is a good sign for a winner. Juwan's prize here is winning the ability to have a personal advantage or give a disadvantage to a different tribe, and I think Juwan makes the correct call here by giving a tribal disadvantage. This allows him to get into the good graces of a tribe that he's already in, that he is slipping away from, and he can just tell the whole truth about the journey to them and the reward without looking sketchy. At Keeley, Alex uses the Beware advantage clue to search for the hidden immunity idol with Jake and Sophie, as they are the three main players of Keeley Ford. Sophie, though, doesn't want Alex to find it. She wants Alex weakened, since she could even want him gone, as she is closer with Jeremiah, and if she gets rid of Alex, it forces Jake to not only be with Sophie as the number one, but it would put Sophie on top of the Sophie, Jake, and Jeremiah triangle. As Sophie actually does find it though, and Sophie actually finds it, but she can't grab it without being noticed and destroying any trust with Alex, so she tries to hide it even more with some leaves and sticks, but it's all for naught as Alex finds it soon after. Like MC, it's nice to see that these players are really trying to play and be strategic, but I feel like Sophie won't win this battle and get what she wants, and we have way more content from Jake and Alex and Jeremiah, making me believe that they will be in the game way longer than Jeremiah will, or at least they matter to the season overall more than Jeremiah does, even if he does make it further. At the Immunity Challenge, we see the tribal disadvantages make one tribe carry 20-pound sacks on their bodies during the first part of the challenge, and then the second part, they have to sort through 10 keys instead of just a single one, and figure out which key is right for the one lock that's preventing them from getting to their puzzle. I was kind of shocked to see it was two different disadvantages all at once, and Juwan puts us onto the Hina tribe, the undefeated first place tribe this season so far, something I wasn't shocked to see. There's some trash talk here too, and Juwan handles this poorly, with him really needing this advantage to come across as more of him being forced to hurt a tribe, not him targeting Hina for their strength as a reason. And then Hina gets obviously upset because they're the ones being targeted, and Juwan gets heated back, which is awful for him, making this even a worse play, since he has already isolated himself from his own tribe, but now he's isolating himself from the other tribes as well, hurting his chances of making relationships and allies when he gets to the merge, if he even makes it that far. The challenge still becomes a blowout from Hina though, with them finishing in first and the Uli finishing in second once again, which is great for Juwan since they're setting up him to be the first to go. At Keeley, Annie still feels way too confident in that she's going to be controlling this vote and the tribe, and it doesn't help when Alex, for literally no reason, goes up to Annie and tries to strategize against Sophie. To be fair, this is kind of smart, with Sophie targeting Alex, and he can sense that her loyalty isn't really there. But now is not the time to do so, and he also doesn't have to lie to Annie about it. Annie isn't going to play her shot in the dark since she feels so comfortable already, and if Alex targets Sophie now and she leaves, it will still leave the tribe as a potential 2v2 with Alex and Annie versus Jake and Jeremiah, which still doesn't give Alex a majority, and he loses the idol in this hypothetical Sophie boot tonight. So the play makes no sense here at the moment, and Annie isn't going to be on the jury, so he doesn't have to pretend that he is trying to do his all to save her, since Annie isn't going to be voting for the winner if she leaves tonight anyways. It's just Alex talking stupid about overplaying to the camera to sound more interesting than the actual plan he's going to do is, since it's pretty straightforward who is going home tonight. At Tribal Council, everyone laughs at Annie whenever she talks, and she does sound like she is super cocky and arrogant, even as she vaguely answers Jeff's questions. Tribal also hasn't been a kind place for Jeremiah either. Last Tribal Council, he played it horribly, letting Annie and Nicole know it was between them, and one of them was going home indefinitely, which could have led to both of them playing their shot in the dark, or potential idol they found, and both potentially being safe, which means someone else is ultimately being idled out, with that person potentially being Jeremiah as well. At this Tribal Council, he gets one line about being hungry and how hard the survivor aspect is of this game, and that's it. Jeremiah hasn't gotten a zero confessional episode yet like Jason or Christina, but he is on his way. And the only worse death knell than a zero confessional episode to your chances of winning this game is being voted out, and we see that happen to Annie unanimously here so far. Episode 2 was alright, with my favorite tribe being Uli currently. I like Jake, but I'm not really connecting to anyone on Kelly, even Jake, since he is putting so much of a target on his back by his appearance and behavior. I want to connect with people on Hina, but the show isn't giving me a chance to. Right now, I'd say my favorite player is Nate, with the show doing a great job in seriously characterizing him so far compared to the other players this season, and Savannah's having this little evil side constantly showing is refreshing from the show in general, especially if she turns out to win. But we have seen a disaster tribe in almost every New Era season, with them losing back-to-back pre-merge tribals and players, and it's just played out. We need a new dynamic, not just the start of a different season in the same way every time. I'm really hoping for a tribe swap in the next coming episodes, as it would just be a breath of fresh air into this game that, is somewhat of a stale format. Let's talk about my winner picks. Not much has changed from last week, but one person and one placement. And third place is Sophie from Kelly. She seems like she has secretly been running the Kelly tribe, and if all the Kelly members go to the merge, she'll be seen as less of a target than others compared to Alex and Jake. She also knows about Alex's idol, and could use it to convince the other players at the merge to target and blindside Alex when Sophie plans it. Alex has gotten the most amount of content from Kelly Tribe, but has also been on journeys, and has found the Beware advantage and the idol itself, forcing content from him, while the show just wants us to hear from Sophie and her perspective of the tribe in the game all the time, and she's playing well from what we've seen. In second place is Nate, a man with a single confessional this episode, but one that mattered and took up a whole 3-scene segment on the Uli tribe. Nate is a player we're supposed to listen to, a mature adult among wild kids who needs to adapt in order to survive here, and has been doing so well beautifully. I don't think anyone in Uli will target Nate for a long time, just due to the, as you Uli kids would say, vibe that Nate gives off. Just like Sophie and the next player I'll be talking about, the edit wants us to listen to Nate and listen to the truth that he has to say, and that's a great sign for longevity in this game. But the person I got to win this game, and who could be in the slot all season, is Savannah. We hear from her constantly, if it's strategic confessionals, who she wants to ally with, how she feels about other players, or just her personality being shown itself. The show can't stop showing Savannah, and not a single negative thing has been seen from her all these 2 episodes. Even the player that she has mad at in Tawan seems to be the obvious target for the Uli tribe if they do go to tribal council, and it could be the start of a perfect voting streak for Savannah if she takes over this game. We're seeing too much to ignore from her, and what we know about Survivor 50, it's hard not to keep her in this first place slot. Well, there you have it, the episode 2 review and winner analysis. Hopefully this video will be published before the 3rd episode airs, but that's only if it doesn't get taken down like the premiere review did. Join me next time for the discussion of episode 3 and more Survivor content to come. Everyone grab your torches, I'll see you in the next one.